Hi, I'm Emily.
And I'm Mary.
Welcome to Chatterbox Box, an F1 podcast.
Box.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Chatterbox Box, where Emily and I chat and giggle about all things F1. I am actually so happy that we waited until 1 o'clock our time to record this. So it's about 2-3 hours after the race had finished. There is serious news, and I kind of want to jump right into it, but we also have to talk about all of the penalties that the drivers got this week and maybe talk about quali, even though we watched it, but we didn't really process it, unfortunately. I don't know. We were on cloud nine or something on Saturday.
I don't know what cloud it was. It wasn't cloud nine. It was like cloud dissociation or something.
Yeah, it was a weird Saturday to say the least, but we're here. I think I am feeling relief that summer break is happening, as relieved as I think all of the drivers are feeling as well. After the race, I don't remember who was interviewing Carlos, but they essentially were like, "Oh, well, are you going to have a decision over this summer break?" And Carlos is like, "You know what? I'm just happy to be taking a break and I don't have to answer this question anymore." And I was like, "Okay, sassafras." But literally,
Wow.
hashtag mood, because same.
Yeah, I didn't even see that interview. I am like so checked out of Formula One. I know we've had some time off since that triple header, but it just feels like it's been going nonstop, like all summer. I feel like all I've been doing is like sitting in front of my TV watching Formula One. And I'm starting to feel like I'm wasting away. So I am
Yeah.
quite happy for this summer break. It's conveniently timed with the Olympics, and I wonder if they did that on purpose, actually. I love the Olympics, so this isn't really helping with my like I want to stop staring at the TV goal, but I'm glad that I will only have one thing to stare at the TV for instead of two, because balancing Love Island and F1 was like a full-time job. So yeah, we tuned in, but did we really? Like I watched the whole quali yesterday, but did I really? Because I recall nothing. All I recall is that Max did really well, but it was irrelevant because of his penalty. So that's cool. Didn't watch any of the pre practices and didn't watch any of the interviews, but that's really funny that Carlos was saying that, because I think they probably also really need a break. This is the season with the most races ever, I think, and it's probably exhausting for them. They're actually doing the work. We're just staring at the TV, and I'm burnt out. So I hope that they all enjoy their summer breaks, and it appears that they're kicking off the summer break with already some drama. And like you said, I am very, very happy that we waited 2 hours post race to film, because literally 44 seconds before we hit record, F1 posted that George was disqualified. So,
Yeah. And I
wow.
think 4 or 5 minutes before that, I had sent you a reel by, I don't remember who the content creator is. If I remember, I'll put it in our YouTube version as well. But essentially, she had shared the FIA investigation of George's potentially underweight vehicle. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then we had gotten onto our like recording platform, and Emily was like, "George is disqualified." I was like, "Did you see my thing? I don't know if he's disqualified yet." And she's like, "Yeah, it like just happened 44 seconds ago." And it
Yeah.
is so funny, because right right before the race, or like in the first lap, I was like, how cool would it be if we had a Lewis, Oscar, and Charles, not in any particular order, podium, because I would literally cry. So Can we just go back to Spa, redo that podium so Charles can get sprayed with champagne?
Actually, yeah, we were robbed. We were robbed of a 1644 podium, and that deeply upsets me quite a bit. I do want to say there is a Lewis Gurley out here that's manifesting, and it's not me because I've been checked out this weekend, but someone is manifesting because Mr. 44 himself just inherited the race win for a 44 lap course, and we found out 44 seconds prior to hitting the record button. So I'm just saying someone's manifesting
Something
worked, and I would like to thank you for it. And I'm sorry that I was not on top of the mission, because perhaps if we knew that this manifestation was going on, we would have participated sooner and it would have just happened in the race. This race was weird. It was really weird. It seemed for a little bit like it was a shoe-in win for Lewis. Shoe-in 1-2 for the 1644 Garlies. I mean, I guess the 44-16 Garlies, if we want to be technical. It seemed like an shoe-in, and then all the pits started happening, and then George decided to not take a second pit, and he said, let's just run it to the end, baby. Me and you were as confused as humanly possible, because we were like, hello, don't they have to do two? I guess not. And then he kept going, and now basically what has come out, and I feel like we're really discombobulated and all over the place, but that's a real-time reaction because we literally just found this news out and we're not prepared to talk about it. But I guess what happened is his car was underweight, and I'm wondering if that's why he was able to go so long on those tires. Yeah, I don't know. Things are weird. Things are weird.
It was a really weird race, I'll say. Whether that's us feeling a little burnt out, similarly to the drivers, it was odd. I guess if we want to circle back just a little bit, within qualifying, you had already mentioned it, but Charles ended up getting pole position because as much as Max was the fastest driver, he had that 10 grid penalty and he needed to start in 11th. So I guess it was a good thing that he did his best, because better 11th than, say, 20th. But on top of that, you had Yuki Tsunoda, who had a 60 grid penalty.
Wait,
which,
what?
yeah, was so funny. I'll have to include it in our YouTube portion so you can see the reaction. But someone was interviewing Yuki, I think, after free practice 1 or one of the free practices, and they're like, yeah, Yuki, did you know, based on all of the upgrades that you took in, you have a 60 grid penalty? And Yuki, along the lines, was like, holy shit, what the fuck? Like, homeboy didn't even realize that he was going to start in literally, no matter what happened, last place.
Wow.
So he was hustling, I think, during this race. He hustled a lot. Who else had a penalty? I think it was Zhou Guanyu, because he impeded in the pit lane or something like that. And it was a 3 grid penalty, but it was essentially, you usually see Zhou Guanyu or Logan Sargent in last place, but it was so odd seeing Yuki be so far behind Danny.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, what is this? It overall, very weird quali, very weird race, and we kind of apologize. Sorry, not sorry, that this podcast episode is not as organized, but we are leaning into that chaotic mood. It is what it is.
Yeah, we are all over the place. The race was all over the place. The results of the race are all over the place. Definitely not our usual podcast vibe, I think, but I'm sure you're all feeling the same way. I didn't even really realize there were all those penalties. I think I only knew about Max's. I also don't know what's going on because the F1 content isn't coming on like my For You page or like my regular Instagram anymore. So unless I'm logged into our podcast account, I don't get like any F1 content anymore. And I was just like not logged into it at all yesterday. And so I missed out on literally all of this news apparently. And I'm sure that they discussed it like on the radio in quali with the commentators, but as we said, we were just apparently dissociated for the entire quali and half of the race. So really not beating the DTS fan allegations this week because
Sorry
about it.
Although, can we take a hot minute, just being totally chaotic now, but let's take a hot minute to say goodbye to Team Principal Bruno on Alpine, because he is gone, like effectively in August, gone. And I just find that such an...
They dropped him
What?
mid-season, like they're not saying, oh, next year we'll replace him. He's gone.
No, like gone.
Oh, wow.
Like he got yeeted.
That's pretty bad.
It's terrible. And just seeing how diligent and how much he tried to get Otmar off from Team Principal, it feels like this is karmic justice. I don't care what you say. I think Otmar might be a little hot-headed, but he really did have the best intentions for Alpine. And basically, Bruno did his coup d'etat type of situation. Everybody left. Like, everybody left. And what more could you ask for? This really is such a nice outcome. I always said that he looked like Peter Pettigrew from Harry Potter. And I'm over here like, goodbye, Peter.
Bye. That's so funny, actually. I didn't realize it was like... What is the catchphrase of this video? I didn't realize. Emily didn't realize. I didn't realize that this was like an immediate let go. Like, I thought he was finishing out the season. How much do you think Travis Kelce had to do with this?
It was probably Taylor.
Taylor said,
"Can you imagine?
Y'all kicked off SD Bestie. I'm going to kick off Peter Pettigrew."
Right?
Bye.
Oh my gosh.
Let's talk about George and what happened, because when George secured that win today, I was like, wow, I didn't know George had that dog in him. Because I know he won one time this season, but to be blunt, I did feel as though he won by default because that was the race where Max and Lando took each other out. So it didn't really feel like that exciting of a win. This felt a lot more exciting because he took a chance on strategy and ended up winning, and it felt like very well deserved. And he also seemed more excited this time around. He just seemed overjoyed. He was so excited. Toto was like FaceTiming Susie. It was so cute. I loved every second of it. And I feel very bad for him that this was taken away. I do think it's good timing, though, because at least he gets like a 3-week break and he's not going to have to face the media on Thursday harassing him about this. So at least he gets to take a little bit of time off. I'm wondering how Lewis is feeling. Like, when you get a win like this, like you inherit a win because someone else gets disqualified, do you think it's like, I don't know, I feel it must be pretty bittersweet. Like, thanks for the first place, but...
Yeah, it's so interesting. I do think that George very much deserved his other win whenever Lando and Max took each other out, because they didn't have to do that. Like, they didn't have to act like children. So George, I think, was in the mentality of, let me just do my thing and be as close as possible, but like also away from the drama, and then I'll just like sneak in. I think that was a good strategy as well, but I can't imagine what Lewis is feeling, because on one hand, Lewis tried so hard to overtake George during this race, and Lewis can be extremely proud that he worked his hardest. It's one of the circuits that he really loves. Maybe coming full circle, but also, I don't know, he might be feeling some type of way, like, oh, George actually didn't do the thing as well as he thought. It was so strange because I really thought up until a certain point that it would be 16, 44, 81 podium. And then when George decided to stay out, I was like, oh, can they do that? Can
Right.
he do that?
Yeah,
And I was like, it was very strange just seeing the fact that, one, he stayed out, two, the tires were doing really well for whatever reason. It just didn't make sense in my head. And I doubt that it was intentional. Maybe something had just happened, but it all led up to this point of George feeling so confident. But I don't know. I think Lewis is like, hell yeah, I deserved that, and I took
let
it
me
back.
get them points, baby. Do you think Lewis is
Exactly.
having any slight little regrets about his decision to leave Mercedes? Because Mercedes is kind of in their comeback era. It's too soon for me to say that, but they seem to be heading in the direction of a comeback era. Meanwhile, Ferrari has been letting us down since Monaco, since we got matching Ferrari tattoos.
Let's not talk about that.
So, do you think there's any part of him that's like, oh, maybe I made the wrong decision? Or do you think he feels settled and secure in his decision?
I think he feels so settled and secured at this point. One, before we even found out the news, the Mercedes team as a whole didn't feel as though they were backing Lewis at all.
That's true.
And at this point, I don't really think that it's monetary or the fact that he is winning. It's more about the respect that people have to put on his name, the ability to be a little bit more strategic, have a little bit more ownership of the vehicle, his philanthropic activities as well. That, I think, just outweighs what Mercedes could have given him. And just because we are 1644 girlies, I loved when Lewis overtook Charles. It was almost like, hey, future teammate, learn some things. Here's what you can do when you're a technically 8-time world champion.
He was like, hey, watch this.
Yes. It's like, look at me.
Oh, okay. My favorite quote of the race while we're talking about Lewis is something is moving down by my legs.
And like nothing was brought up ever again.
Like, what does
Whatever
that
that phrase
mean?
was,
What do you
I
think
was
it
like,
was? I know that the listeners thought that we were done talking about Love Island, but I have to bring it up one more time because the crossover little like jokes I kept seeing of people being like, is it a snake? Because I hate snakes and I hate men that hang out with snakes, especially Rob.
oh, oh, oh. Literally, I thought it was a snake, but I'm like, really? Like at Spa? Wouldn't they? Like, wouldn't
I
there
don't
be
know, like,
something?
why
Was
is
it a
that
spider?
a spider? Ew. Ew. I don't know if he would.
You
Do you
know,
think
I
he
don't
would
know.
feel a spider through how thick the race suit gear is? I don't know. Why is all of our first thought, like, if you're feeling something down by your legs and can't see it, everybody's first thought was snake?
Spider.
Literally.
Snake. I don't know. That was not my first thought. I thought he like peed himself. I was like, it didn't go down his pants. What is happening? Like, what are you feeling?
We need answers. We need answers. We also have to talk about Red Bull because let's talk about how Max was in P11 and made it up to P5. Let's also talk about how Checo was P2 and made it down to P8. I am so sorry. Is Checo losing his job? What do you think?
I think that he might. And while I was getting ready for this recording, I was tuning in just very casually, having it in the background, all of those interviews and the post race show. Someone had asked Christian Horner the same thing, and he was like, no, I don't think that this race actually will affect him. But I'm like, please be so for real. It's going to be this race and the previous race and all of the other races between now and Miami. because that was the last time he did well.
Want to know what Checo has on these people. Is his sponsorship, the brand deals that he's bringing in, is it really that much? Because they're going to lose the constructors. Mark my words. I'm saying it now. They are not winning the constructors this year, and it's because of Checo. And that's on them.
Yes. No, because there is so much competition for the constructors right now. Like Red Bull, Mercedes, McLaren, Ferrari, they're all gunning for constructors. I think McLaren is doing super well so far because it was Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, then Mercedes. But now I think it's Red Bull, McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes. And now they're all kind of, they're all doing their thing. They're all doing it really well. Every single race since Monaco has been really up in the air. You can kind of understand the strategy overall, but it's literally anybody's win at this point.
Do you have any fun predictions for things we can expect during summer break?
I think Carlos will still hold off on making a decision, and I 100% respect that from him. I would love for him to feel comfortable in the decision that he's making, especially because he is on the older side. He's, I think, 29, turning 30 this year, so not young, also not old. Like, he's not Fernando's age. But if he's thinking long term, especially because he's such a strategist, he wants to make the most of his time in Formula One until he decides to settle down. And I think he still has that race in him. Like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure he's waiting for the big one. He is going to do a big one. And we're going to be there and we're going to be like, yes! So yeah, I think that's going to not happen. And we're going to come back from summer break and people are going to be like, so Carlos, where are you going? And he's going to be like, shut up.
Okay, well, my prediction for summer break is lots of thirst trap vacation photos from the drivers.
Oh, can we please get more thirst traps from Lewis? Because he knows how to take the photos. He just knows.
King of thirst trap, middle of August, about to be middle of August, during this vacation. And I'm going to be thirsty, so post the thirst traps, please.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I know that this is probably the worst episode we will ever post. So I'm going to give us a little fun challenge activity that I'm springing on you that I did not discuss with you.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. If the F1 drivers were in the Olympics, what sport do you think some of them would be doing? Not all of them, but anyone coming to mind is like, I know that this person would do this, because I just know deeply in my heart that if George Russell was not driving for F1 and he was an athlete in a different way, he would be an Olympic pole vaulter.
Why can I see that so clearly?
Right?
That's so good. Yeah.
What do you think Charles would do?
That's such a good question. I don't really watch the Olympics a lot, but one of the sports that I can imagine Charles doing is rhythmic gymnastics. And with the little ribbon thing, it is so stupid. But in my head, I'm imagining the one video with Charlotte and Charles. I believe Charlotte was playing the piano and Charles in the background was just a little ballerina. He was like, and I don't know why, but I feel like that translates somehow.
Wow. Okay. You may be the first person to ever think. That's amazing. I hope that we get content of him doing something like this one day.
I hope so. If you guys think that this episode sucks, don't worry, because our YouTube portion will be excellent because there's so many references that we brought up that we now have to include in the video. So that's exciting.
Yes, that is so exciting. If you're like me and you love the Olympics, I hope that you enjoyed this F1 summer break and stalking the Olympics. Maybe we'll do an Olympic bonus episode. We're probably not going to do an Olympic bonus episode, but maybe we'll post about it on like our TikTok or definitely on our Threads account. I do anticipate, since it's in Paris, we will see some F1 drivers there. Maybe a little Charles and Pierre, Kika and Alex little double date to the Olympics. I could see that happening. It has come to my attention that Lewis Hamilton did once carry the torch as well. So I would love to see him make a appearance at the Olympics. Actually, I am surprised that there isn't car racing or any type of motorsport in the Olympics. That actually surprises me because they have ping pong and this year they added breakdancing. So maybe at some point they will add car racing or motorsports in general. I think that would be really cool. Probably would be really hard because there's not like variety in country, but it would be the one time that a country other than the US dominates the sport. So that's cool. I'm rambling, and we know this was a short episode. Short but sweet, a little fun one, hopefully, a little chaotic one, definitely. And we will see you all after the summer break.
Yes, there is nothing planned for summer break for our podcast. So we will tune back in for our podcast portion of Chatterbox Box after the summer break. I hope everyone else is enjoying their summer break. If you do happen to miss us, as much as we will miss you guys, you can always tune in to our social media accounts at ChatterboxBoxF1 on Instagram and Threads, and at ChatterboxBox on TikTok. I'm sure we will have some scattered videos and some content there as well. Nothing too serious. It's going to be casual, and let us know what you thought of this episode, how you guys take it easy over the summer break. Are you going to miss Formula One? Are you also burnt out alongside of the drivers? Or are you going to be thinking about Formula One all day, every day until the next race? Regardless, I think that's it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. Over and out.
Bye.
Let's finish it up on a high.